What's up? Hey, how's everyone doing? We're back again looking at the PolyEffects Beebo. I have been promising for a while that I would make a video about the delay capabilities of Beebo, and honestly it's taken me a minute to think about exactly how I wanted to approach that topic because there is a lot of potential within Beebo for delays, and I think it's one of the areas that Beebo shines in particularly. That being said, this isn't going to be a video that is necessarily exclusive to Beebo. You could apply a lot of the concepts I'm going to talk about to any sort of modular delay platform, and by that I mean like the Empress Zoya, maybe the Mira LVX. Don't hold me to that, I'm not for sure. We're going to look at a couple of basic ways you could use a delay and modify the delay. Then we're going to look at using delays to make your own chorus and your own vibrato. And then finally, we're going to make a pretty sick lo-fi tape delay. This is probably going to be the first in, I don't know, 2 or 3 parts. We'll get more complex as we go. So without further delay, Jesus Christ, what am I doing with my life? Let's get to it. So we're on the desk now. We've got Beebo up. Just a quick note on signal chain. We're going through the Mira Optical Compressor by Walrus, and then through the Chase Bliss Gen Loss. I'm not using any of the like tape degrady effects of Gen Loss. I am just using it as like EQ and drive and just a little bit of like color to the signal. So here's our dry tone. So if we look in the time effects, we can see that there is a bit crush delay, a delay. Granular looping is a delay also. The last delay, which is the twist delay. And the twist delay, within that delay, there's configurations for what they call a tape delay, a ping pong delay, a dual delay, and then like an open feedback loop. So for the purposes of this video, we are only going to talk about the basic delay. So we're not going to talk about any of those other features. We're only going to be using this module right here. I just have the delay set up through a wet and dry blend. So if we look at the settings of the delay, there's some words on here that I think are a bit confusing that you don't normally see on a delay, and then most of it is pretty familiar. So level is just going to be the volume of the delay. It's not a wet dry blend. It is just the volume of the delay. Then we have the tone, which is a low pass filter. The glide is going to, we'll come back to that later, but essentially the glide is going to be when you change the time or the warp, which the warp sort of changes almost like subdivisions of the time. The glide is going to make that a smooth, or smooth out the transitions as you change between the time. So it won't be quite that jarring, like suddenly shifting delay sound. But we'll come back to that later. Then time, you can go in milliseconds or you can go in beats. When you go in beats per minute, you've got subdivisions here. When you go in time, you've got milliseconds here, and you can type that in to be specific. And then you've got your feedback. This delay does self-oscillate, and it is profoundly loud, so use extreme caution. I've got this running into a limiter in Ableton, so that way I don't blow my ears off. I would recommend being prepared to hit this bypass button, so that way as soon as you hear that feedback start to get nuts, you can just... So yeah, so as far as the delay time, we can go all the way down to 1 millisecond. which isn't really like perceptible. We'll crank the feedback. Not really perceivable. If we make it 10, it's like this weird, like, I don't know, like comb filtery sounding bathtub sound. And then if we lower the feedback, we can crank this thing pretty high. Right here is, I guess, 5,000 milliseconds. So pretty long, and we're not even barely anywhere in this. So I think this goes, I don't know how to convert milliseconds to seconds, to be honest with you. But I think we're in the ballpark of a full minute here. Again, there's our reverb from earlier, or delay from earlier. So there's a lot of flexibility within this one sort of simple module. So real quick, I'm going to make just kind of a demonstration patch to show you what we can do beyond just this simple delay. So give me a second. I don't know why these delays aren't turning off with the foot pedal assigned, but that's okay. What I've done here is I have set up a couple of different delays. So I have 4 different delays, and the output of each delay is going into some kind of modifier. So A here is going into a high pass filter. So that's a pretty simple way to filter your delay. That's maybe an obvious thing to do, but you can get more creative than that. So on B, we have the delay connected to an auto swell. Make the time a little longer, make the feedback higher. Which is like, okay, but if we go with a full wet, and you can see where that would end up being a pretty good ambient tone if you put a reverb after it, you know, and did some modulation or something like that. But so we've got a harmonic tremolo. And then our last example here, again, this is just some general ideas. This is not me like trying to show off like cool sounding patch or anything. This is pretty bare bones, but it hopefully gives you an idea of where you can take this. The last thing we used was a harmonic tremolo, but now we're going to use a tremolo. There's not a pre-built tremolo, so an LFO to your VCA, which is an amp, does the job. Nice sound there, honestly. So let's open up a new blank patch. And so we're back to just our basic setup again of delay in our wet dry blend with an LFO that we are yet to use. You might be wondering, what is the purpose of having a delay that can go down super low in its time? Why can it be so fast? Why does it need to be 20 milliseconds? It doesn't sound like a delay at all. In fact, it sounds kind of like a shitty delay. But What you may not realize is that using delay or delay lines allows you to make effects like chorus and vibrato, among a lot of other. You can even make reverbs, but right now we're going to make our own chorus on this thing. The way we're going to do that is we've got our short delay already. Then we're going to take our feedback kind of in the middle here. Crank the volume fully. Okay, so as of right now, it's just kind of weird sounding, honestly. How are we going to fix that or turn this into a chorus in any way? Well, first, let's make it all wet. And before you start typing in the comments, I know that choruses are a blended signal. We'll get there, don't worry. And we're going to use this LFO to modify the warp. So let's see how that sounds. Bass settings. It's not great. Let's slow it down. Let's take the intensity down a bit. So it's kind of weird. Not really a chorus, but when we blend our dry signal with that wet signal, watch what happens. So let's take this chorus and see what it can do a little bit. Let's crank the feedback, see how that affects it. Kind of weird, maybe too much. Okay. Let's change the time, see how that affects it. Let's take it to a higher setting, so 50 milliseconds. That's pretty seasick, as they say. So we'll take the glide up now, and the glide's gonna lessen the sort of extremeness of that up and down waveform. Let's change our wave shape, see how that changes our chorus. Go with a sawtooth up. Let's make our chorus really short. Let's take it down to 10 milliseconds, see how that sounds. And let's take the level of the LFO back up. Speed up. And turn the glide up. Let's go full wet. Turn the glide down just till we can hear it making a difference. going on there. Our last experiment that we're going to do here is we're going to use the sample and hold, which is random, if you don't know. But just a little bit of glide. And now we've got a sort of tape warble. Now that we've got our tape warble, that means we are on track to make our tape delay. Okay, so we're starting blank again. Well, not blank, but so not blank, but we're starting again with just a delay and our wet dry blend. Also worth noting, since we're doing a tape delay, I turned off the EQ filtering knob of the gen loss. So this is the only thing this is doing is just providing a little bit of drive. Just like the first sort of patch that we looked at. If you want to make variations on a delay, you put them after the delay, which Beebo tells you that in the menu. So we're going to put a whole lot of stuff after this delay to make it sound like a convincing tape delay. So the first thing we want to do, we've done this in previous videos, which go check out, by the way, if this is your first time watching one of my videos. I've got a couple up now, so go check those out. So we're going to make this a tap tempo delay because that makes it easier to control. So then we are going to go to amps, cabs, and gain, and we're going to add 3 modules from this section. We're going to add a saturator, warmth, a mono cab, impulse response. So for our cab, these are inbuilt. I'm not using any like custom impulse responses or anything. We're using the tape machine and impulse response capture of the tape machine that was used in Abbey Road Studios to record Dark Side of the Moon, which is cool because I'm a Pink Floyd nerd. So then we're going to use our warmth, take it to tape, and cut the drive a little bit. We'll go back to the drive in a second. We're also going to lower both the gain, the post gain and the pre gain, because we want to have some compression. I'm going to assign these to B. Basically, all of this is just adding some compression and a little bit of breakup to give it a little bit of that like tape style distortion. So now we need our tape warble, which we're going to achieve again by creating a vibrato with a delay. So we need an LFO. It's going to be controlling the warp. Again, make the level high. 25 milliseconds is fine after our compression and saturation, but before our cab. And then again, we're going to do sample and hold, which is the little pink one here. Take that a little slower. A nice degraded tape sound there. We can also take this, filter it down a little bit with a tone here. And these are a lot of subtle changes, but we're going to make a lot of subtle changes so they'll add up to a pronounced change or a pronounced final product. I think that when I think of a tape effect, especially a lo-fi one, I think of filtering and high-pass filtering specifically so we can cut out some of that bass frequency. So we're going to put a high-pass filter after the delay, or, well, our tape warble delay. So just a little bit of resonance and a little bit of cutoff. Next, we're going to go to our mod effects and add the vinyl noise. We're going to add that pre-filter because I want it to filter out the noise, because I think that vinyl noise and noise makers in general can be a little harsh. And I actually don't like the noise. So you could add noise if you wanted to, but I'm going to do motor, crackle, crinkle, and rumble. I'm just going to kind of age it, kind of pitch everything around a little bit till it sounds good. So then we're going to, we're pretty close to this sounding good, but it's still missing a little bit, I think. So we're going to copy our LFO. So we have a second LFO now. We're going to connect that to the filter cutoff of our high pass filter, and we're going to connect it to our tone of our delay number 2. We're going to make it random also, slow it down a little bit, and cut the intensity. Doesn't need to be that pronounced. But that's a little harsh, the way it's transitioning. So we're actually going to disconnect that. We're going to go to our modules, go to CV generators, and we're going to go down or search for the slew limiter. What the slew limiter does is it essentially is going to slow down the rate at which the LFO is going to change. So it's going to kind of like smooth out the curves, or essentially sample hold is like square, right? So the slew limiter is going to make it more round and smooth, similar to the function that glide is performing on the delay. It's still doing a little too much for my taste. Okay, so I'm going to open a more refined version that I worked on earlier, and on this one I actually put the high pass filter after the impulse response of the tape machine. Also, I forgot, in this one I have the LFO that's making the tape warble happen is connected to the drive of the warmth tape compression here. So one last thing we can do with the sound is we can just skip the delay altogether. We can go full wet. Then we just have a lo-fi pedal. turn off the gen loss just so you can. That pretty much does it. As always, these patches will be available in the description, the link that'll take you to patch storage. They're totally free. Leave a comment if you have something you want me to cover on this thing in particular, or if there's any other kind of content you want me to make. I'm always happy to, I don't know what I'm saying. I always need ideas. Give me free ideas. If you like this content, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, interact with the channel in some way. It helps out a lot. It helps me out a lot. It helps the algorithm gods out a lot. And I have a Patreon down below. If you want to head over there and check it out, I would really appreciate that as well. But yeah, that about does it. Until next time, peace.